Kia ora koutou, called Dan Buckingham tōku ingoa. 7 minutes is going to disappear quickly, so I'll crank straight into it. Luckily, Sophie, my colleague, has the best words and has already shared them on a piece of paper about Abel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. Because 7 minutes is going to disappear, I'll tell you the stories and the takeout straight from the top. I'm going to tell you a story about how I broke my neck and how I ended up in a wheelchair. And the big takeout being, basically, I just like to hijack any speech and talk about that because I'm a big believer in speaking about disability, letting people have a conversation about it and being intrigued by it. The second story, I'll talk about what life is like now for me, which is a very full life. And that's the other thing I'm really passionate about, is lifting expectations of what life can be like when you live with disability. And then somewhere in there, I'll wrap up new beginnings. It'll be in the mix. So to cut to the chase, 14th of August 1999. That was the last time I could walk. That was the last time I got out of bed and did everything that I took for granted at the time. I was a first-year Aotearoa uni student, just loving life. Had a pretty good social life, and not a bad academic life as well. And I was playing a bit of rugby. Long story short, we were playing a game near the end of the season, and we got about 3/4 of the way through the game. And I was playing hooker in the middle of the scrum. A bit of a scrappy game. The other team tried to come through and engage early in a scrum. One of my props went down and tried to engage in with that other front row. The other prop pulled up. I should have pulled out, and instead I tried to engage and I got caught halfway. So I had 8 guys, 18, 19, 20-year-old guys, impacted on my head and pushed through there, and I had my teammates pushing back behind, and something had to give. So it was my 6th and 7th vertebrae right at the base of my neck, fractured and dislocated, and just pretty instantly paralysed. The caveat with telling this story is I don't actually remember much of it. It's kind of pieced together with what I remember, what I've been told, a bit of a blur. But what I understand is a bit of a scuffle broke out, and when that cleared, I was left lying on the ground and just saying, I can't feel my legs. From there, Dunedin Hospital, Christchurch Hospital, and then ultimately became lucid, realised where I was when I was at Burwood Hospital, which was where I spent the next 3.5 months learning how to live a new life, how to navigate this life from a chair. I could talk for a long time just about Burwood. It is a fascinating place. It's full of young guys, mainly young guys who are dumb shit, learning to, on this road to getting better. No one's really sick. And it's also a place and a time I describe as, it was like being at my own funeral. I had so many people come out of the woodwork to wish me well. It was phenomenal. So I had friends, family. I had my 19th birthday in hospital. I had a gig at the hospital. All friends came for that. I had people from the little community I grew up in. And then I had people who I wasn't even very nice to, and I was a bit of a prick to, really. And that was a very humbling experience, and I think something that changed me in a big, big way. And I really carry with me throughout life now. Cut to 2022, what life is like now. Just about 5 years ago, I got together with my now wife. We bought a house, got engaged, had a kid, got married, had another kid. So it's been a whirlwind 5 years. We've got a 2.5-year-old and a 3-month-old. So there's a couple of big new beginnings right in there. We're in the trenches of new beginnings. But it's been a phenomenal time, but also probably one of the most challenging times of my life of living with a disability, where after all these years of figuring it out, it's really brought home some difficult things. Just yesterday, I missed a very key point that's been a big new beginning within that 5 years as well. I joined a fantastic organisation, which is Able. Able is I'll just pause for a minute to talk about who I'm here representing. Able is a place on the surface. We provide captions and audio descriptions. We're a service provider, but it is an entity to join. It's such a phenomenal entity that is full of good people doing good work. And it's almost like at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of adults in a room who know how to get things done and do it well and get along with each other and look after each other. So it's been a joy and a pleasure to join and be part of. We're in the throes of a new beginning with a new strategic plan. I took over from my predecessor, Wendy, and she set a 3-year plan that came to fruition after 2.5 years. So we're going early on a new strategic plan. As part of that, we spent a bit of time yesterday as a senior leadership team getting to know each other. And one of our exercises, the icebreaker sort of style thing, was to draw a map or a graph of your life and show some key points and plot against it, sort of happy, sad, good and bad, how your life has wavered. And for me, I think it's been a very privileged life. I've had a lot of opportunities and a lot of people supporting me in many ways, including many people who live with disability who have gone before me so that I can live the life I live now. But I think from someone on the outside, they might say, well, you know, Dan probably had a down point when he broke his neck and it's very up now with this magical time with the wife I love and kids who are a joy. But looking at it, I think, you know, having a disability really was a time of growth and opportunity. And I look at the years that came out of that, it was a phenomenal time in my life. I look at now and it's one of the most challenging times of my life, but also just full of a feeling of optimism and so excited about the future. And funnily enough, there's kind of a gap from when I was about 27 to 35 where I struggle to explain it, but maybe languished is the right word. And since yesterday, between yesterday and today, and trying to come up with some words for tonight, I thought, what was that time? And it was a time where I probably wasn't really moving forward. I had a few relationships that didn't work out. One in particular I stayed with too long. I had a job that I was getting ahead, but getting ahead by burning myself out and in a bit of a toxic environment. And I was playing wheelchair rugby, which was a massive part of my life that I loved, but also not letting go of it and really move on. And I think, you know, if there's a takeout from all of that, it is change is the constant thing in life, and new beginnings is where growth and evolution and where life comes from. So one thing I rise against is being a disabled person who is an inspirational speaker. So I'm not going to leave you with an inspirational note, but maybe just a toast to change and new beginnings. Kia ora.